Everyone, and thanks for attending tonight's presentation on the proposed Bethesda Market Park. We know everyone is busy, and we really appreciate you making the time to learn more about this exciting new park in downtown Bethesda. My name is Linda Comas, and I am a landscape architect and project manager in the design section of the Montgomery County Department of Parks. I'm here tonight representing Montgomery Parks, along with several other park staff, among them Darren Flouché, Deputy Director, and Patricia McManus, Design Section Supervisor. This project is possible because of a unique public-private partnership between the Montgomery County Department of Parks, who will own and operate the park, the Montgomery County Department of Transportation, who owns the existing surface parking lots and who will own and operate the new public parking portion of the garage, the town of Chevy Chase, our neighbor, and the town is represented tonight by Irene Lane, the current mayor, and the former mayor, Barney Rush, and the private development entity of EYA and Bernstein Development, represented tonight by Karen Garfield and Alexander Coolidge. We are also joined here tonight by Rick Parisi, a managing principal with MPFP, our landscape architect consultant on this project. We carefully selected Rick and his team to lead the design of this project because of their extensive experience designing special places for people and their ability to understand and really capture a site's essence. They are also very experienced in designing parks over top of underground parking structures and rooftops, which can be very complicated and have specific design constraints. We feel very lucky to be working with them and the rest of the team on this really unique and special park project. I think now might be a good time for Irene Lane, the mayor of Chevy Chase, to speak about the town's important contributions to this project. Without the town's support, both by providing invaluable design input and financial contributions, the park would undoubtedly look much different from what we are about to share with you tonight. Irene?
Thank you, Linda. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. As mentioned, my name is Irene Lane, and I'm the mayor of the town of Chevy Chase. First, I would like to thank the Parks Department, the developers, and the landscape architects who've worked very hard to develop these exciting plans and bring them to the Bethesda community this evening. I'm thrilled to see so many in attendance tonight from all the Bethesda's communities. This park is envisioned to be widely used by individuals and families, not only from all over the area, but all over the county. And as one of the key stakeholders for this important project, the town of Chevy Chase is excited to hear from everyone about the updated designs that will be presented this evening. If I could take a moment to say a few words directly to those of you who are residents of the town of Chevy Chase, the town has taken a leadership role in the realization of this park. Right now, we on the town council are considering a major increase in our financial commitment. The plans you will see this evening include a wide array of amenities that are popular with residents, but these amenities can only be included if the budget is increased by $5 million. As the town has communicated, this $5 million in additional funding would come from three sources. One, a direct $1.5 million contribution from the town. Two, $500,000 that the town would be receiving from the state. And three, another $1.5 million from the town, provided that an equal amount of matching contributions come from both public and private sources. Therefore, the town council is eager to hear from you, both about the plans you will see this evening and your thoughts about the updated financial plan. We ask that you send in your thoughts to the town office by June 30th so that the council has time to consider your comments before our next council meeting on July the 10th. We expect to discuss this matter then and possibly vote on a resolution that would provide this additional funding. One additional item is that these updated designs reflect the major features that have been requested by the community. While we've participated in many meetings, we have not endorsed any specific design of any feature and do not plan to do so until after we hear from residents. Again, I look forward to hearing from everyone, and I thank you all again for your partnership.
Thank you, Irene. Rick, could you advance the slides, please? Okay. Before we really get started, there are a few quick housekeeping items. To be respectful of everyone's time tonight, we plan to move through the presentation pretty quickly. So if you'd like to go back and listen to tonight's presentation or share it with someone who couldn't attend, we will post a recording of tonight's presentation on Montgomery Parks website on the project webpage. And the easiest way to get there is to just Google Bethesda Market Park and it'll pop right up. Also, during the course of this presentation, as you think of questions, you can enter them by clicking on the Q&A button in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. There'll be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and we'll do our best to get through all of the questions tonight. But if it looks like we're going to run over 8:30, we will stop out of respect for everyone's time, and we will answer the questions and post them on our website. I also want to remind everyone that the focus of tonight's meeting is on the public park. And so we ask you that you limit your questions to the park. If you have questions on the Farm Women's Market or on the private portion of the project, the developers will be hosting another public meeting on the overall project, most likely in September. And you can ask those questions then. Okay, the next slide, please. The format of tonight's presentation will touch briefly on the project background, discuss the survey results and how we use the results of the survey to further develop the plans for the park. We'll show some preliminary ideas and images of the proposed park amenities, which we're really excited about. And then we'll talk about the next steps in the process and finally open it up for Q&A. Next slide. This is an air photo of the existing site showing where the property is located in downtown Bethesda. The red line shows the limits of this project. You can see the Farm Women's Market building and the surface parking lots as they exist today, and the adjacent shady Elm Street Park. The green line depicts the location of the surface route of the Capitol Crescent Trail. A portion of it is existing along Willow Lane, and the section along 47th Street and Elm Street Park is proposed by DOT to begin construction during the summer of 2025 or next summer, with the goal that it should be open and operational prior to the opening of the Purple Line in 2027. DOT is hosting a public meeting via Zoom to discuss the Capitol Crescent Surface Trail project along 47th Street and through Elm Street Park on July 16th. Next slide. This slide more clearly shows the area of the Bethesda Market Park, which will be in total about 2 acres, combined with the existing Elm Street Park, which is also 2 acres, and the public space around the Farm Women's Market building. The total public space will be just over 5 acres. Next slide. This is a slide of the improvements being proposed for the northern portion of Elm Street Park as of July of 2021. We included this slide because we received questions on Elm Street Park during the last meeting. The 2021 plan shows calls for a new playground for children from infants to preteens, an outdoor gym for adults, and a rebuilt promenade, which we call it the promenade. It's the old Elm Street right-of-way that cuts through the park. These new facilities were to be physically separated from the Capitol Crescent Trail by walls and fencing, except where the Capitol Crescent Trail crosses a promenade, where other safety measures are to be included. The northern portion of Elm Street Park is being rebuilt by the county in order to accommodate the alignment of the new Capitol Crescent Trail, which is being displaced from the tunnel under Wisconsin Avenue by the Purple Line. This project was placed on hold for several years by DOT while they pursued the design of a new trail tunnel under Wisconsin Avenue. But about 3 months ago, DOT reinitiated the non-tunnel project, and we have resumed regular meetings with them to complete the design of the Capitol Crescent Trail and the improvements to the northern portion of Elm Street Park. The goal again is to have everything in place by the time the Purple Line opens, or if not before. Montgomery Parks also plans to hold a public meeting on the proposed improvements in Elm Street Park this fall. Next slide. The vision for a substantial new urban park in downtown Bethesda began years ago as part of the work on updating the downtown Bethesda master plan. The plan was approved by the county council and adopted by the planning board in May of 2007. I think you'll see as we move through the proposed design of the park tonight that these goals have been reached regarding the park. Next slide. A few years later, in October of 2019, a sketch plan for the project was approved by the planning board. Next slide. This slide summarizes the project to date. Last year, we had 2 public meetings for the park in which we collected public comments. We also issued a survey where people rated the amenities in parks that they felt were most important. The landscape architects took that input and those ideas and advanced the schematic plans for the park, which you'll see tonight. At the same time, we are looking at preliminary cost estimates and realized that a number of the most valued amenities weren't within the existing budget. Since that time, the town creatively and generously developed a plan which helps to close the funding gap, allowing the most desired amenities to remain in the plan. Next slide. Next slide. The Parks Department issued a public survey from March 15th to April 30th of last year. The survey included questions asking respondents about their favorite parks and what they liked most about them. It also asked what they felt were the most important features or amenities in a successful urban park. 654 people responded to the survey, and the input you provided was very helpful in helping us advance the design. This is a list of the major amenities the community felt were important to be provided in the park. And I think you'll see from the upcoming slides that with the creative ideas of our landscape architects and our partners, that we've listened to your ideas and have taken your input seriously, and it's reflected in the current design. At this point, I'd like to introduce Rick Breezy of MPFP, who will discuss the design for the park. Rick?
Good evening. Thanks, Linda. For some reason, I can't turn my camera back on, Michelle. Let's see. Hold 1 second. Let me just stop the share and start over. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Let's see if we all got this together. Okay. So for those of you who I met in the public meetings last year, it's good to be back here, and it's a great evening tonight for us as landscape architects, because with the team, with Linda and the team and the town, and the increase in the budget, we're really able to kind of develop this park with the amenities that we really were striving to give you. And I think that the public process proved to be something that would be very exciting for everybody. Again, for those of you who have not been in any of the previous presentations, we're just going to go very quickly through our process. We decided this park would be something that would be of biophilic design, and there would be a framework of patterns and forms in nature, in the built environment, right, that would strengthen human nature connections and the residents with nature, right? So there's a lot of fluid flowing moments within the park, and conceptually, that's how we try to organize our pieces and our outdoor rooms, as we call them. If we start up back where Linda left off on the Elm Street Park playground, and I go to that because in the public meeting there was a lot of questions about the type of play we would have in the new park. And what we explained at that time was that this park was on the drawing board and in limbo for the moment, but that would be coming in. Linda walked you through that park, and so it's really a great moment to talk about that and its relationship to the existing Elm Street Park and what we're going to provide in the new park. And I think you'll see that we are not repeating the playground. We're trying to create something that's that's a step beyond a typical playground. So as we go into the park, one of the great moments in the park was the flexible lawn, as we call the Great Lawn. There's a terraced sort of amphitheater that steps down to that. And there was a focal feature that we presented to you last year. We thought that would be perhaps a stage, maybe a shade structure, maybe a water feature. Tonight, we're coming back to you with all those features to create a much more flexible lawn space and a more iconic space. We still have our promenade area, some social gardens, the game room, and the entries to the park. And we've taken the multi-generational active zone to a whole nother level. And I think you'll enjoy that. You'll enjoy seeing that tonight. We should have the small dog run, the large dog run, and the social gardens within that park as well. This is just a rendering of all the parks together. You see the playground in Elm Street Park, the existing Elm Street Park, the Great Lawn, the terraced entry, the game room, the social gardens, the promenade area, the Farm Women's Market open space. And then you see the entry gardens here, the multi-generational zone, small and large dog run. Just an aerial view rendering of the entire park system. As Linda said, that mentioned, this is over 5 acres of parkland, including the open space here. And another exciting element that we have in the park is our pathway system. And the way we've always designed our parks is that there's a fluid system that connects all the pieces and all the outdoor rooms, as we call them. One of the concepts we've always had is an outer loop, which goes completely around all the parks, including the new playground, and ties back in. And that is our strolling park, right? That combined with all the inner loops is more than a mile of pathways that you have. So you can jog on that, you can walk through that, you can enter the different portions of the park. It's a really nice added amenity that you can access from all the adjacent streets. There were some questions on how vehicular traffic came through the Woolnorf, which is a shared pedestrian vehicular space that is around the Farm Women's Market. There's only one vehicular access to the garage here. There's another vehicular access and loading access, exit and access to the garage on Leland right here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the amenities, which we touched on already a bit. On this drawing here, you can start to see the form of the shade structure, the stage, and the water feature. You can also see the grade change from elevation 346 up to 353 and 355 on 46th Street. And that created the natural amphitheater setting. This is an aerial view. You start to see the shade structure, the water feature here, the stage, the Great Lawn, and the stepping amphitheater space. The gardens here, the game room is under this row of trees, and the promenade is right here. So as we talked about last year, the flexible lawn will have, as we see it, will have Adirondack chairs that are flexible and you can move around for different events. On any day, you can use these chairs, and you can use this flexible lawn for picnicking, informal play. Of course, it will be used for other events as well. The game room might have ping pong, outdoor ping pong, board games, outdoor foosball games. The new amenitized stage area will have a multi-purpose stage. They'll have a shade structure, so you can sit under that with tables and chairs on a daily basis. And then that would actually also double as the stage for an event. And it has an interactive water feature, which will show you some of the initial images of what we think that will be. Enlargement of the Great Lawn. You start to see again the stage here and the water feature here, some shade trees, the Adirondack chairs that are movable, and the amphitheater. So this is a cross section through 46th Street. down into the park, and you can start to see that grade change, which is about 9 feet. But it's really just a stepped landscape, no fences, no walls. The amphitheater, stepped amphitheater is here, the sloped lawn is here, stage is here, and the shade structure is there, all built over the garage. And this is a close-up of that shade structure and the water feature. Right here, interactive water feature. And this is the central view down the Woonarf of the shade structure and the water feature. So the water feature, or concept for the water feature, is something that is, programmable. It has a lot of facets to it. We want to create these small rooms with the water elements. Sometimes it'll just bubble at about 1 foot high. It might go up to 4 or 5 or 6 feet high and create an oval room similar to these square rooms right here, and create these 3 oval rooms that overlap. So it'll have a lot of programs designed within it, so it can just bubble, just come up to about 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, and go up and down. And there's actually lights built into that. And this is a night view of what that could look like. And obviously it could be turned off as well. This is the water feature off, small stage structure here with a band playing and informal seating on the lawn. And there's a night view of that. And this area here also doubles as more of a dance floor. So we'll talk a little bit about the amenities for Bethesda Market Park South. And this one was taken a little bit further than what you saw a year ago. When we did this survey, we talked a lot about, creating something that was more iconic, something that was a area for all generations. We originally had a large swing structure, more of a flexible lawn area, and more exercise equipment. But now that the Elm Street Park is coming in, we've taken this to a little bit more of a level of something iconic, something a little more intriguing, a little more playful, and something that doesn't appear to be a playground. And the way we did that is we are looking at a large wood structure that is climbable, that you can actually go underneath, has some play features built into it, is built into 2 mounds, and really can be enjoyed by all ages. We also have an area here that we call the swing room, and a series of swings, which will show you some initial concepts with that. And we have a lawn area that's flexible, again, with some movable tables and chairs, and maybe Adirondack chairs. And there's also what we call right now a play trail. It's a wooden bench system that you can sit on here, or you can kind of run along the top of it. This also has some built-in seating into these mounds, so you can sit within this kind of multi-generational zone and look at the small dog run. There's an aerial view. Right now we're looking at a bird structure. We could change that to something else, but we see this really as kind of a placemaking area, really a different place. So it's a climbable structure, it's a bench trail, there's a strolling path around the entire park, as you saw in the larger park system. Small dog run, large dog run, and the swing room. This is a section of the swings, through the swings, and you start to see the mounds in the background. And there's a night view. So the swings are on these armatures that will have LED lights in them, and the lights will change in color as you swing. There's also a series of these other lit elements that are part of this kind of intriguing, play feature that we have, which might be something like this, could be something more like this or this, but it's a wooden structure that you can climb on, you can go underneath, and all around. some of the Adirondack chairs, some of the swing features. And of course, the dog runs, small and large dog runs. So in closing, we think that with the additional $5 million that we are very happy to have, we've been able to take the design to another level, include the stage, the water feature, the shade structure, and a little bit more development on the multi-generational open space in Park South. And we're really excited to take this further, get a little more feedback from the public. We hope this addresses everything that we discussed last year. We're excited to be back to finish this off. I'll turn it back to Linda, I guess.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Wow. I hope everyone is as excited about this incredible park as we are. It's really exciting. So this slide has a lot of text on it. There are a lot of steps yet to go through on this project. It's a complicated project with lots of agreements and different people involved. But we want, what the important takeaway is that we'll continue to develop the park plans based on your input. So the plans for the park and the private portions of the project will be submitted to the planning board in the late fall for approval. And after all the approvals and permits are obtained, the phase one and the plans are bid, phase one construction will begin, which will include the Farm Women's Market building, the Lot 24 tower, the underground parking structure, and the park on Lot 24. During construction of Lot 24, the parking lot on Lot 10 will remain open for public use. When phase one or Lot 24 is complete, the park will then be built on Lot 10 after the parking structure is completed on Lot 24 and public parking is available. Meanwhile, next summer, construction will begin on the Capitol Crescent Trail and hopefully Elm Street Park, with the goal again of being open in the summer of 2026, ahead of when the Purple Line opens in 2027. Okay, next slide, Rick. Okay, and here's my contact information. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions or comments. And we also have the project website up, so you can either snap a picture of it or take a screenshot. And I think we are finally at the Q&A. So as I mentioned, we'll do our best to get through the questions, but if we don't get through them, no fear, because we will answer the questions and post them on the webpage. Okay, so let me just get to the Q&A. Okay, the first comment was, I hope there will be a pathway the length of the park as a walking alternative to the Wisconsin Avenue sidewalks. And I think we definitely do have that. Rick, if you want to kind of just, oops. Okay, you're going back into, you're going to the loop.
I'm going back to the diagram.
Okay.
Went too far.
There you go.
So the 46th Street sidewalk is still there. Basically, if you came in through the Farm Women's Market and you walk this whole length, you can and you can go around the park this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can make connections through all these streets. So it's not replacing, but it's adding a lot of pedestrian pathways and connections to the neighborhood on all the streets, on Elm Street, on Willow, and on Leland, and on Walsh.
A lot of choices.
Yeah, a lot of entry points.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is, can the streets bisecting the new park be designed as Woonor style streets similar to the planned Woonor next to the Farm Women's Market. I'm assuming you're talking about Willow Lane and Leland and Walsh Street. Gee, I don't know. That would be a question. I guess I think the town may own part of those right of ways. I'm not sure which are county controlled and which are town controlled.
Yes, we do own 46th Street, and there is vehicular traffic on those streets. The idea of converting those, or even Leland Street and Willow Lane into Warnoffs, is not something that the town is discussing at this time, given the entry points for just people who are living in the town and how to get through during rush hour and things like that. But certainly something that we can think through, but right now it's not part of any plan.
Okay, let's see. Someone has written, a long way from the amphitheater seating across the Great Lawn to the stage. Have any theater music people advised the planning on how that would or would not work?
Well, I mean, the entire lawn is seating for the stage, right? And this is informal, park, outdoor concerts, small outdoor concerts, Shakespeare in the Park type of thing. Maybe small jazz concerts, could be poetry reading, things like that. It's an intimate space. I think, it's an exterior space. So it's not a theater proper. And the view lines, from the upper seat walls are all direct to the stage. The stage is actually tilted towards those arced seats.
Yeah, it's not really an amphitheater. It's more terrace seating. So it's just two levels of seat wall, right? So it's not really intended as an amphitheater. It's more just casual seating. People will sit there when there's nothing happening on the stage, maybe, and just kind of take in the Great Lawn. And so I think, yeah. And then here's a good question. How does a sloped main lawn area translate to use for lawn sports like soccer? It's really, why don't we talk about the slope across there, Rick? Because we spent quite a bit of time on that.
Yeah. So the sloped lawn is only about 3%, right? So even a soccer field is pitched. It's not level, right? So it's not a percentage that you'll notice easily. You'll just start to notice the 3%. It was never intended that this would be a soccer pitch to play. It's intended for informal play, maybe kicking, ball exercises. I think none of us envision this as setting up cones and setting up nets and actually having a soccer game.
Yeah, I don't think it would be permitted as a field, but it could be, as Rick said, it's envisioned more as informal play. Okay. Why is there both a small dog park and a large dog park? The total space allocated to dog park is bigger than the playground area. The family-friendly aspect of our neighborhood needs to be maintained. The overall multi-generational area should be increased and expanded for the benefit of the whole community.
Well, Linda, maybe you should answer that with respect to the size of dog parks that you have in Montgomery County.
Yeah, I would say that this is actually on the smaller side of a typical dog park in Montgomery County. And we do try to, it's a best practice to have both a side for a small dog and a large dog because, for sort of obvious reasons, for dog safety. And there's been a big demand for a dog park in this part of the county, and we have promised the community this for many years now. So we want to make sure that we're doing this right. And there'll be a brand new large playground on the north end of Elm Street Park. And this lot 10, the park in lot 10, has always been intended to be a multi-generational area where people of all ages could gather. It wasn't, we never intended it to just be a playground, but we wanted to make sure that we had activities for all age groups to just kind of make it more activated and, you know, safer and a nice place to be in. Okay. Please describe how people can safely go between the park areas. That's a good question. Because we've talked quite a bit about that.
Yeah, I think I'll go back up to the plan. You know, our original vision was to pedestrianize the connections, you know, with raised pedestrian platforms, right? That is not actually in the current plan right now, Linda, right? Isn't that correct? But maybe something that could be considered. I'm going to go back to the main plan here for a second. So our original thought was here and here to you know, have more traffic calming and raise those to sidewalk level, right? Raise those as platforms, right? And tabletops, right? But I know because of their locations, right, at the intersections, and you know, and with the Capitol Crescent Trail, and on this location here, it's further in from the intersection. It makes for a little bit of an odd traffic condition. But we would like, and we've always shown a toned pavement here, we would like to still entertain, you know, pedestrianized pavement within the street. Obviously, that is more of a you know, comes back to you in terms of your standard details that we can put in the streets, and if we can actually, you know, increase that awareness of the pedestrian crossings.
Yes, I mean, we very much would like to make sure that there's a strong connection between the 3 separate blocks of parks. And we've, you know, we've talked about it to some extent, but there'll definitely be more discussions as the design proceeds. We've talked about things like street murals, perhaps, or special pavement. So there are a number of things that we can do to increase the visibility that it's a pedestrian zone between the 3 park areas. Okay, let's see. Where did I leave off here? Sorry, I just scrolled to the bottom, so I have to. Okay, let's see. Neat designs. Thanks for doing this. Sorry to ask, but who will be responsible for public safety in the parks and dissuading homeless from establishing residence? Montgomery County Police, Park Police? Would it be possible to add a police kiosk or at a minimum help points? Because this is a Montgomery County park, Park Police, I would think, will be responsible. Although in other parks, I know it's sort of shared. I don't know about a police kiosk. We can certainly ask about that, but we anticipate that there will be security cameras throughout the park. So that should help. Okay, someone wants to know about the type of the new large buildings to the west. I guess that's not really a park related question. I think they're mixed use, so residential and commercial. Karen, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
That's correct. It'll be residential, rental apartments, and ground floor retail, and then the Farm Women's Market retail with an expansion on that'll overlook the new park.
Let's see. The amphitheater rings at the top of the hill seem concrete heavy. Is it necessary to have 3 fully paved rings, or could those perhaps be separated and importantly shaded?
There's quite a bit of shade. We're trying to keep, you know, clear sight lines. right? So there's shading up along the back end, and there are some that are out in the sun. If we start to drop more trees in, which we love, we're landscape architects, both Linda and I would like to put trees all over the place, right? You really won't have clear visibility towards the stage. So the way we looked at it was there are plenty of places to sit in the shade. I'm going to go to the enlargement for a second. Plenty of places to sit in the shade up here and along here and over here and back here and under trees. And, you know, on a nice spring or fall day, some people may want to sit in the sun here. You know, it'd be very difficult to start to drop trees in here and shade all of it.
And it also makes it very difficult to maintain because the area between the walls is not that wide. So to put a tree in there, it kind of cuts down the
accessibility.
Makes it more difficult to maintain. Okay. Let's see. Is there sufficient bench seating adjacent to the dog runs to accommodate the anticipated number of dog owners that will use it? I don't think we've really gotten to that level of detail yet, but we all know that that's very important.
Exactly. And we're showing a number of benches in there in all these kind of concave spaces. There are also benches all along the walkways, the long pathways that wrap around all the parks. So there's seating throughout, and there will be ample seating in the dog runs.
Okay, can you give a visual and descriptive narration of the pedestrian experience walking from Wisconsin Avenue to the town of Chevy Chase along all the streets that share a part of the park, 46th Street, Wall Street, etc.?
Interesting question.
Visual and descriptive narration.
I guess visual is this, right? So we have a plan, and basically from Wisconsin through the park is what we're talking about, right? So, you know, our vision is if you were to come on Willow Lane, obviously it's a shaded tree shaded lane, right? It goes by the adjacent to the bike lane, right? It also goes by the Farm Women's Market open space and the Woolnorth. So you might want to go right through the Woolnorth straight to the park, go circulate through the park and connect to the neighborhood. You might even want to come through the park and then connect to Leland, right? Leland, we're not doing anything on Leland. It's out of our limits here. So nothing along Leland here. There is the connection of the park here where we, as Linda said, we'd like to do a mural or pedestrianized pavement to connect the two parks and the two entry features in the entry spaces. There will be trees, new trees all along 46th, right? And Willow over here. So I think, you know, it's about bringing the park to Wisconsin the best we can, largely through the Farm Women's Market open space, which is very pedestrianized, right? And will be very active with these new structures here and the shade structures out here and the trees. It'll draw you in. We hope that people will walk down Wisconsin, look up the Woolnorth, see this iconic tree shade structure, start to see the water feature, and be drawn into the open space.
Okay, what's the schedule for construction and completion phasing? So it's our understanding from our partners that the preliminary plan and the site plan will be submitted to the planning board, planning department for review later this fall. And then beyond that, Karen, I'm going to let you answer that because it's to some extent it's market driven, and I'm not really sure what if you have more information than that at this point.
Absolutely. Thanks, Linda. That's right. So we plan to file our preliminary and site plan later this fall. And before doing that, as you mentioned earlier, Linda, we will hold a community meeting in advance of that we will advertise and let everybody know when that's happening. Likely it will be sometime early in the fall. And then, you know, pending the timing for approval, we would look to start construction. So as Linda said, sorry, lot 24, which is the park on the north side, will be the first park developed. And then the parking at lot 10 will remain in place for parking. And then after the new parking garage is built, then the lot 10 park will start construction. But the plan would be to start construction most likely, again, assuming that the schedule and approvals go as we anticipate. We'd probably start construction in late 2025, early 26, and deliver probably about, it's probably all told about a 30-month delivery schedule.
Okay.
If I can just add to that very quickly, I think I understand this way we're talking about it is that it would basically mean that the park behind the Farm Women's Market and the Farm Women's Market itself would be completed sometime in the summer, fall of 2028. And probably the development of lot 10 would go into 2029, allowing for the 2.5-year construction schedule that you cited for the main development.
Yes, that's correct.
Someone has said that they assume that there'll be fencing or something to keep apart the dog run areas and the other areas open to people. That's correct. The small dog area and the large dog area are separated by fencing, and the entire dog park is separated from the perimeter walkway with fencing. Okay, let's see. Someone has a comment that this is definitely needed. The total dog area should be reduced and fenced, which it is, or contained to keep things orderly and safe for all. Yes, safety is it's a priority always. What does the additional 5 million pay for versus the previous budget? What does the incremental budget get us versus the base budget? We designed the project. We had a base plan, and then we had a plan with enhancements. And the base plan was basically the lawn area, the walkways, the landscape planting, and keeping in mind that this is built over top, at least lot 24 is built over top of a parking garage. There's a soil panel, or I guess I'm not sure what you would actually call it, but there's a depth of soil that has to be brought in. I mean, it's expensive to build a park over on the roof of a structure. So it did not, however, provide enough money for the water feature, the stage, or the shade structure. And, some of the other amenities like lot 10, it didn't include the climbable play structure or the adult swings. So it's those kinds of things. The street murals, those are what we consider enhancements to the project.
And if you permit me just to add to that, because you're right about that list. We really looked hard at the numbers. We realized that with the old budget, there would not even have been room for the dog parks because of the other cost items that came in late in the day. So really, virtually all of the active features, amenities in this park that we see in the plans tonight can only be afforded if the additional contribution is made to the budget. Otherwise, it's a park with grass and some trees and paths.
Okay, any plans to bring the old community store into the legacy core around the women's market? I have to admit, I don't know what the old community store is. Barney or Irene, do you know what that is?
Oh, I'm sorry. I do know what's being referred to. That's the store that was moved that had been in this vicinity, but then was moved north along Wisconsin. I think that's what's being referred to. But no, there are no plans to put any building back into the site. Obviously, you can see the way it's mapped out, essentially to be a park and not with buildings on it.
Okay, this is a good question. What protections are there against cost overruns, and whose risk is that? Well, in all construction projects, for at least in parks, and I think it's widespread, we always have a contingency. So when unexpected costs come up during construction, hopefully we've planned a large enough contingency to cover it. What Parks does on our projects is, should the bids come in higher than what the monies are available, then unfortunately we almost every project that I've worked on anyway, we have a list of deduct alternates. So we can remove things in order to remain within budget, which as Parks, that's how we handle it. I guess there is always, you know, an opportunity for donors to, if there's something that people feel very strongly about, this would be a perfect park to have your name on something, water feature or the climbable art. And we're hoping to be able to raise some funding that way. But typically, if there are cost overruns, hopefully they're handled by the contingency, or we may end up having to remove some things. But at this point, we feel pretty comfortable that with the additional funding that we'll be able to achieve what we're showing here.
I think that's correct, Linda. One of the things we thought about when we considered how the $5 million would be spent, we actually started off by saying that we need to substantially increase the contingency. In fact, we almost doubled it from the old budget, precisely because we want to make sure that this money is enough to really do the job with the additional amenities that we're seeing tonight, and recognizing how many years forward it'll be for these parks to be constructed. So since we have so substantially increased the contingency, we do feel much more comfortable that this really will be adequate to make sure that we can provide what is planned here.
Okay, I like this question. This looks very impressive. One question about the trees. I noticed that the public had requested a large canopy of trees. I would love to see some big trees, although understandably they will take years to grow. Who is in charge of the tree selection? Is there a restriction on the type of trees that can be planted? Perhaps because they will need to grow on top of the parking structure. So we have an excellent landscape architect, and we are all landscape architects too. And so we will together come up with the planting plan. But you can see, I think, that there are a lot of trees, big trees proposed for this park. And something else that I think the Parks Department is particularly proud of is that we plan to grow the trees in our nursery for this project, which makes it very special. So we can use a lot of native trees from stock that comes from Montgomery County. They may not all be native, but we like to use as many natives as possible. In terms of a restriction on the type of trees that can be planted, Rick, I'm going to let you handle that portion because you're the expert on parks, on structure.
You know, we're going to have more than 4 feet of soil everywhere here. So there's not really a restriction on the type of trees. You know, of course, we'd like them to be native. We like to use a lot of oaks, some really, you know, significant shade trees that will be here for 100 years, right, or more. We have the depth and the soil for this, so it won't be a real issue. I think as you know, as we start to look at what you're growing, you know, Linda, in the nursery, and what's appropriate, we'll start to develop a more, you know, precise planting list that we can, published and everybody can start to understand, the diversity of trees we'd like to put in the design.
Yeah, and this is perfect because we have some time, we can tell the nursery what we'd like them to grow for this project, so it should work out great. They want to know who will be caring for the trees. They'll need watering on a regular basis when they are first planted. Yes, we're aware of that. We plant a lot of trees in our parks. And this will be, because it's on structure, at least lot 24 will be irrigated, but we know that when trees are first planted, they require lots of water, so we'll be on top of that. Somebody's asking about specifics of the mixed-use tower project, and we said this meeting is about the park. There'll be more information on the private portion of the development provided as the project moves forward, but we don't really have, Parks doesn't have that information for this meeting because that's not part of the meeting tonight. There is considerable traffic, both foot and vehicular, through this area, both in the morning and evening rush. Have there been any studies of how the park design will interact with cars going into and out of the town, as well as people walking to downtown Bethesda, BCC High School, and the Bethesda Metro? Who would like to answer that question? Karen, I know you guys just did some traffic studies, right?
Yeah, we have engaged traffic studies. We don't yet have all of the kind of publishing of it, but it is part of the project analysis and will be part of what we share at our pre-submission meeting in the fall. But we have taken into consideration kind of traffic flow as we, I don't know, Rick, if you have the diagram that shows how the traffic works through the site, or not traffic, but kind of the circulation.
Right here.
Yeah, so if you can kind of point along as we talk through it, from Wisconsin Avenue, you can only make a right onto the Wooner where Rick is showing the arrow right now. So that's a right in only off of Wisconsin. You can then either make a right into the parking garage, and then you can only enter the parking garage from the Wooner if you can exit the garage onto Leland. So you can enter and exit from Leland, only enter from the Wooner. And then you can go two ways from the garage portion, from that leg of the Wooner. If you can go either to the garage or back to Willow. And then the other kind of roadway circulation, around the site for Leland, Willow, and Wisconsin Avenue really remains unchanged. But that's really how the vehicular traffic works. And the idea for the Wooner is really to be very pedestrian friendly, very bicycle friendly. It will have bollards and have a lot of traffic calming measures on it, so that really there's not the ability to race through that area. It really is taking into account pedestrians going from the Farm Women's Market, from the retail, kind of traversing the site with ease, and that's really been a large consideration in the overall design.
Okay, who will be responsible for programming and maintaining the water feature and movable Adirondack chairs? I'm assuming at this time, it will be the Department of Parks will be responsible for that. The next question is stunning project. Can you discuss the number of spaces on lot 24 today and the number proposed in the future garage, as well as the number of ingress egress points today and proposed? So I think Karen just went over the ingress egress points to the garage. And I actually looked up the parking spaces today, and I know that there is something like 200 spaces on lot 24 and like 100 spaces on lot 10 today. And my understanding is that the public portion of the parking in the garage will be about 200 spaces. And then I think there'll be about 200 private spaces in the garage, but you guys jump in if I misstated that.
Spot on.
And then, pardon me, Karen?
Spot on.
Okay.
Yep,
And then
exactly.
there are also numerous other public parking garages in downtown Bethesda. So I don't think that parking is really going to be an issue here. But we spent a lot of time on that, and as has DOT. Let's see. How about closing the part of Willow Street separating Elm Street Park from the new park to create a bigger connected park? It should be fairly easy to just open Elm Street and have traffic move up that way instead. Also, any thought given to updating Elm Street Park to make it more in line with the new park design and make it feel more like one park? I don't think there's been any discussion about closing Willow Street at this point. And I'm not sure how people would feel about opening up the old Elm Street right of way, because that, there's going to be a lot of congestion right at where the Capitol Crescent Trail crosses the old Elm Street right of way. And we're really doing our best now to make sure that that is as safe a crossing as possible. In terms of updating Elm Street Park, well, everything north of the promenade is going to be completely new. And the southern portion, I know people have commented on that. They'd like to see some upgrades. It's not a part of this project at this time. And there are some big, old, beautiful trees in there that we would really want to, consider when we do any type of upgrades in that park. But I think eventually will need to be some upgrades in that park as well. But we are trying to tie the two, Lot 24 to Elm Street Park, as we said, either through pavement, special pavement in the street or a street mural. We understand that it's important to tie the two together. Okay, next one. How are we doing for time here? We've got time. Dog parks are usually divided for small and large animals. The space allotted is too small to accommodate the number of families with dogs in the town and also in Bethesda. I would advocate for the entire area of Lot 10 to be dedicated to pet-oriented facilities. I do not see the usefulness of the multi-generational area. Okay, well, that's a different perspective than what we've seen earlier tonight. And we understand that there is a dog park that's needed in this area, and it's been long coming. So we're doing our best to kind of balance things here, and we're pretty comfortable with the size of this dog park based on our experience with dog parks throughout Montgomery County. Okay. How will the street crossing at Leland be managed? So I think we talked a little bit about how there will be a pedestrian connection across Leland. The drawings here are showing special pavement or something. But there, it connects one entrance, the entrance on Lot 24 to the entrance on Lot 10. Recognizing that this is an awkward intersection, Leland draws a lot of traffic going in and out of the neighborhood, and I'm concerned about the pedestrian protection crossing Leland between the two parks. A mural seems nice, but inadequate. There will need to be some signaling equipment for the crossing. Well, I think when this goes in, as a site plan and preliminary plan, the traffic and transportation engineers will look at this again with a fresh set of eyes. But we are aware, and again, safety is a primary consideration, and we appreciate, your concern. We're looking into it. Can you tell us more about the water feature? What aspects of this park explicitly help address the increased heat we're going to see? Rick, you want to take that one?
Yes, yes. So the water feature is designed actually, to be one of these features that is a visual attraction, but also a play attraction. So it's an interactive water feature where, like specifically like the one we did down at the yards, where people come with their bathing suits, as if it's a beach or a park, with a pool. And it will, be operating through the summer months. And we believe it will be that type of feature that'll draw people to come and cool off in the water, mostly kids. But we have a lot of adults in there as well, and a lot of the ones that we do. So we think it addresses that as for play value, as well as kind of combating the heat. We do have a lot of nice shade trees in that area, and the shade structures there. So we see this little feature as one of the gems of the park, because we've designed the shade structure as kind of an organic tree feature. It does have a cover on it, right? So it will shade, block most of the UV, and it will also be, protected from weather. And people can sit under there while kids are playing in the water feature, or sit in the Adirondack chairs under the trees. So we think this is speaking to the increased issue we have with hot summers. And I think we're having a hot summer, and it's not even summer already. So we really like to include these features in our parks, because it just adds another level of excitement and amenity for the entire neighborhood. It'll be a draw for sure.
Okay, someone says they think the dog runs take up an inordinate amount of land space, and they're wondering if that's the best use of that space. And they're wondering how the water part is handled in the colder months. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So the water feature is a flush, mounted system with a mechanical room. It's filtered water. It'll just be turned off, just like anything else. It's winterized. So it's really just a paved area. It's a paved plaza area that we see could be used, as I said, as a dance floor, or just as an area, for other events. It's, it's very versatile. There's no standing water. Pretty straightforward. A lot of these interactive water features throughout, DC and Bethesda in the area. What was the other question? It was about the dog park.
They're just saying it's taking up an inordinate amount of space. They're wondering if that's the best use of that space.
Yeah, I think we in the survey, a dog park was pretty high on the list. And as
Yes, it
Linda
was.
stated previously, we really, for safety, you have to have small and large dog runs. These are on the small side. We wouldn't, I don't think we can increase the multi-generational area and have adequate dog runs. But again, it's up for discussion. What we did here in the first round of comments was a dog run was very, very important, and both sizes. So that's where we are with that.
The next question has to do with bicycle parking, and the comment is that there aren't any shown on the renderings, and it's next to the world-class Capitol Crescent Trail. Why not make bike parking and sculpture art equal in prominence and community pride?
There is bike parking included. It's right adjacent to this location right here, right adjacent to the Capitol Crescent Trail as it enters the park. We could look at some bike parking, at the southern park, where the dog runs and the multi-generation play areas. We can look at some there. We can fit it in the entrance area. We can also probably fit it in this entrance area. But there is a significant, space here for bike parking.
Yeah, and frankly, we just haven't gotten to that level of detail yet on these drawings, but there will be bike parking throughout the parks. Okay, there's another question, and there are a lot of questions about closing Elm, Willow, and Leland Street for pedestrians. Okay, I think we've handled that. There isn't really any plans at the moment to close those streets. Those streets are owned by the town. And I think they provide vital access from the commercial area into the town. What consideration has been given to bicycle car interactions on the Capitol Crescent Surface Trail? The surface trail will cross in front of access to the parking garage. Yes, we have had many discussions with DOT over the years about the alignment of the Capitol Crescent Trail. And, you know, when bike trails run through urban areas like this, there are places where they cross garage entrances or they cross other sidewalks. And, you know, we do our best to make sure that the visibility is good and that we, you know, include measures that slide to slow down bikers to the extent that it's possible. And, you know, a lot of thought has gone into how to safely get people through this area, and we're continuing to work on it. What is the value proposition then of a 3% pitch on the lawn?
Value proposition.
I guess he wants to know why we're pitching the lawn 3%.
Okay.
And it's really to pick up.
It's actually really simple, and I'll have to go to the grading plan for a second. Well, maybe, I don't know if you can see it best there. So as you look at 46th Street, when you look at where 46th Street meets Leland, it's at elevation 351. As you go along for 46th, it raises up, right? From 351 to 356, 357, right? Then it starts to come back down to 356 and it lands at 353 on the corner of Willow and 46th. The grade at the Farm Women's Market is 346. So we have, you know, a significant grade change to make up in this area, right? And we could do it with higher walls, but we wanted this to be more gentle. And a 3% slope is hardly, you know, noticeable. It creates a little bit of a bowl. It's not really a true amphitheater. And then we do have steps to bring you up from 350 to 351.5, 351.5 to 353, and to, you know, meet the corner grade here. So there's a lot of grade change going on throughout this site, and we're making it very gentle and all ADA accessible. All these pathways have slight slopes on them to bring you around, and the walls are sculptural walls built into these slopes, and they're seat walls. So the entire park is, you know, is built around these ellipse shapes. Again, you know, that biophilic kind of formula we've been working with for these ellipse shapes that, you know, peel away from the lawn areas and the planting areas and create seat walls that are actually sloping with the pathways. So it's very gentle slopes, all ADA accessible. So it's part of the design intent as well. Often when we don't have grade change, we build grade change in, you know, to really kind of create the actual space. So this is a very gentle slope, but I think there's one section in here that starts to show a little bit of that slope, which is right here.
Mm-hmm.
You see very little slope at 3%.
Okay, the next question is money being set aside for maintaining the gardens and water features over the years. It looks wonderful, but it will need continuous upkeep. Yes, we are, you know, that is always central to our discussions about how we maintain the parks that we design. So, and we have a internal team with all the stakeholders that will look at this. And that is the intent, that yes, we will have enough operating budget set aside to maintain these features. Do you envision natural grass, wood chips, or artificial turf in the dog park area? I don't think we have completely made that determination yet, but whatever materials go in there, they have to be maintainable. So that pretty much eliminates natural grass and wood chips. There could be, I think, some of the surfaces we have in other dog parks are, we have crushed stone, we have artificial turf in some places, we have painted concrete. So we are still exploring that. And as the designs progress, we'll better define that. But the concern is, or the main consideration is, how do we maintain it? And, what is best for the users? So, yeah. In some of these now, we only have about less than 10 minutes left. So if the question has already been answered, I'm going to skip it and see if I can find some that we have not answered yet. Okay. Okay, and I think I discussed this in the presentation, but they're saying that the Purple Line partners have indicated that the Capitol Crescent Trail alongside of the Purple Line will be open in 2026. How will work in Elm Street Park in 2026 interact with trail use if the trail is operational in 2026? We have been told by DOT that their goal is that all of the work be done in 2026 when the trail is operational. Okay. What? The pedestrian experience of walking through an urban park via bisecting streets, Willow, Wash, Elm, Leland, at all hours of the day and night from downtown Bethesda is a fundamental design issue addressing both safety and equity. What design consideration has been given to these issues, and where can that work be found? Well, I think there will be lighting and security cameras, and we at Parks are practice CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. So, we want to make sure that there are ample sight lines, good lighting, more eyes on the park. There will be townhouses that face the park. So there are a lot of different features in this park that are, that hopefully will increase the safety of users through the park at night. Okay, we talked about where the entrances to the underground parking are. Not thrilled with the idea of colored lights in the swings. Let the kids enjoy looking at the sky, tree, etc., and not at lights. Hope there will be a lot of shade trees planted. Okay. Will the concrete looking surfaces be permeable? Will they be able to absorb rain? I don't think the concrete, I don't think we've gotten there, but I haven't heard discussion about permeable concrete.
No.
No, okay. This is, we are removing a lot of impervious surface and putting in a lot of grass and permeable surfaces here. So we are, I think, improving what currently exists out there. Let's see. Do you see food trucks being available for special events? And if so, is there parking for them? Or do you think that food will just be available from the Farm Women's Market? I don't think we've had that level of discussion here yet. At one point, there was talk about food trucks maybe along, the perimeter
along
streets,
Willow.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we narrowed that sidewalk now, so it's not,
Yeah, yeah.
so I don't know, but that's something, you know, that we can explore further. Wow, okay. Let's see here. You're pretty free with other people's money. Do we really need Adirondack chairs, foosball, ping pong? Your spending is extravagant. How about a tax cut? How many levels deep will the garage be? We have many handicapped people in our building near Walsh. Will the garages have priority handicap parking with elevators? Please tell me the answer you just gave on responsibility for security wasn't a joke. How dare you even propose this without absolute clarity? Huh. Well, I think, you know, based on the survey, a lot of people asked for a variety of seating options. They really liked the game room and the game tables. You know, I guess we can't please everyone, but you know, we're trying to make something really special here, and most people have been very supportive of it.
Linda, you might mention that the garage for the public parking is just one level down.
Okay, I wasn't sure
that-
about that, Barney. Thank you.
Yeah, just one level down. Which is, I think, a very valuable thing for anybody coming to the park,
Mhm.
to the farmers market, that they only have to go down one level to park.
Okay. Let's see. People are asking about the maintenance of the park. Elm Street Park is lovely, but it is so shabby and poorly maintained, it does not seem inviting. Some of the same for the children's play area. Yes, I agree. The children's play area has been sort of on hold. We thought that the DOT project was going to move ahead more quickly, and then they put it on hold, as I mentioned, to finish the tunnel plans. And so now they've picked it back up again, and there will be a beautiful new playground there, you know, hopefully by the summer of 2026. Um, uh, let's see. Why not have a garage exit on the north side that feeds into the Wooner? I think because we wanted to limit the vehicular traffic on the Wooner. It is a shared street. So it's supposed to be as much a pedestrian street as it is for vehicles. So I think to the extent that we can limit them, that was the objective there. Okay. And this question is really a DOT question. Looks like there will be cars going into and out of the garage onto Willow. That means they will need to cross the Capitol Crescent Surface Trail. Why not move the surface trail to the other side of Willow? You know, I don't know. And as I said, that's really a DOT question. They made the determination as to the best alignment for the Capitol Crescent Trail. I do know on the other side of Willow that there is also a garage entrance on that side, and there is several curb cuts. So, and I think they probably were looking at it in the overall scheme of the entire length of the Capitol Crescent Trail and where is the best place for it to cross Wisconsin. Okay. Another question. Okay, I think I read that one already about Elm Street Park. Have you considered incorporating any classic elements into the park that would nod to the older housing stock in Chevy Chase that sits at the edge of the park? I don't really know what that means exactly. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on that. Because it's mostly single-family homes on the other side of 40. It is all single-family homes on the other side of 46th Street. Okay. So I think we are at 8:31 right now, and we did not get through all of these questions. I apologize for that. Probably could have done a better job of trying to group them together. But we will take a look at these and we'll provide answers and post them on our listserv. I mean, on the project webpage. And I want to thank again everybody for coming tonight. I think this was a good meeting, and I hope people are leaving feeling excited about this park, because it's such a unusual opportunity to be able to convert impervious surface parking lots into something beautiful and useful for the community. So thanks again. And, please keep your input coming.